What's going on, everyone? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is Friday, March 12th, 2021. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. Today we're going to be talking about the price action in the indices. We'll go under the hood and check out our sectors and style factors. We'll talk about some of my trades for the day, and we'll wrap up with some options order flow. But before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer. Nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan, your own risk parameters, and last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. Alright, so let's jump into it. It is Friday. We're going to go through some quick housekeeping items for Pristine Capital members here. One is we are doing the first rebalance of the long-term trend portfolio. So I was actually working on that for quite a bit today, and I am super pumped about some of these names that we're including in the trend portfolio. Some names that don't really have that much price momentum that I am cleaning out of the portfolio, and I think it is going to be awesome. I am super excited. So I'm going to send the details out to all members this weekend. I manage that portfolio through a platform called M1 Finance, and those changes will actually take effect, this Monday during the trading day, but I'll make sure to get that info out to everyone over the weekend. Another thing, I'm going to be working on some more educational videos this weekend. So I had some member feedback from a couple of individuals. They wanted a video, one on like setting targets and stop orders, that sort of stuff, like position management. And then there was another request. Somebody wanted a video on price and volume. So I'm going to do a video on essentially, the anatomy of a winner and like how those look in terms of the volume profile, the price momentum, all that good stuff. So yeah, a lot more to come, and I'll be posting that in our Discord over the weekend. So if you're interested in signing up, you can do that at pristinecapital.net. I'll post my email here as well if you're interested in reaching out. All right, so let's jump into it. It is Friday. I think it was a pretty good trading day on Friday. Yeah, so we had the S&P 500 up 0.13%. We had the NASDAQ QQQ down 0.81%. We had the IWM small caps up 0.59%. And we had the Dow Jones up 0.92%. So today I think there was a lot of nuance in the market. And to be quite honest, I think there's a lot of times, like in the past 2 or 3 weeks of price action, it was like, if you're like any sort of trend follower like I am, there wasn't really much to go off of. It was just like super choppy action, super volatile action, and the market was kind of like, okay, are we going to slip into the abyss? Are we not? Now that we are entering that uptrend once again, things are getting a lot easier in terms of, reading the tea leaves. And I think there's just more edge in the market. So you can see here, we had our downtrend for several weeks. We have firmly broken out of that downtrend. And you can see that for the S&P 500, we are still pushing up against this monthly value area high. But this was some solid price action here where we tested the 5-day EMA, and then we just kind of pushed back and we closed pretty much on the highs of the day. So really couldn't ask for anything more here, because we did have, a ripper of, 5 days consecutively. So it's not really the end of the world to get some consolidation here. It wouldn't really be bad at all, if we just consolidated for the rest of the week. But there was a lot of nuance under the hood today. So if we look at the Qs, and you'll see I actually got long some Qs calls today. Yeah, you can see the Qs are technically based on the market profile. They are still in a downtrend. But you can see, we caught ourselves on that 5-day exponential moving average. And yesterday we hit into this monthly value area low. And now we are getting our consolidation over here that we were really looking for. It's looking pretty good on the Qs. The one thing that sort of got me more positive on the Qs is today we had some selling in treasuries. Like if you look at this is really what made me turn the corner on tech. Where over the past couple of weeks, it's been like, oh my gosh, hyperinflation, Zimbabwe, financial crisis. We're just going to have this runaway inflation. It's going to destroy the bond market and the whole stock market's going to pop. And it definitely felt scary while we were going through it. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, is that what actually is going to happen? And I think a lot of players, fixed income players really got caught off guard by this move. And it had some big ripple effects throughout the market. We ended up getting a little bounce in these 10-year treasuries. And you can see that the bounce was sold. We closed below this 5-day EMA. And we actually closed very close to the lows. And what I thought was interesting was, that being said, there was no real issues in the stock market today. So like we had ZB, which is the 30-year treasuries also, those actually closed at a new low for this period. So I was watching that, and then I was looking at the Qs here. And I was like, okay, the bond market is sending one signal, that yields are going higher. And the narrative now is, oh, higher yields mean tech is going to go down. I even see a lot of people, they're referencing the dot-com bubble. And it's just become like a narrative like, no, this is the dot-com bubble. Like, yeah, these tech stocks, they're going to pop. That's just like a foregone conclusion pretty much. So when I saw like, okay, bonds are making new lows, but the Qs are really just having a little dip after a nice run here, that for me, I was like, okay, this looks a little different. Now I feel more comfortable adding some risk here. The other thing that has me super interested is look at this small cap growth ETF. This thing really turned the corner yesterday. And you can see we closed on the highs yesterday. We closed above all the key moving averages. And that to me was like green light for these small cap growth stocks. Today, again, even though treasuries really sold off big, these small cap growth stocks closed down 0.06%. So now this pattern is starting to look a lot more interesting to me. Because if you look, this is sort of going on a tangent here, but these growth names, perfect. We just cleared the 20-day moving average. Awesome. It's not like we're extended at all. If you look at the small cap value, so this is very extended. It's extended from the monthly value area. It's very extended from this 20-day simple moving average. And it is also pretty extended from, the 5-day EMA. So that's, it's pretty up there. And we do have this ETF in the Pristine Capital Trend Portfolio. So it's not like, oh my gosh, like I just hate the value stocks. But yeah, this is, by any stretch of the imagination, pretty, extended. Whereas the growth names, they're not at all. And really, like when you think about it, the growth names, there are a lot of these technology companies, digital companies, companies that have much better margin profiles. They're not old economy stocks. And really, they're just the better companies. So as I started to look at this, I was like, okay, I'm getting some good signals here. I'm going to fade the value a little bit and rotate a little bit more into the growth. The other thing too is, this is something that you just get when you've been in the markets for, quite a while, just doing this, full time, all day, every day, where you start to see things under the hood look a lot different. So like, at one point the Qs today were down, I believe, over 2%. So pretty big down day. But then I was looking at some individual stocks, and like for instance, this Viat that I traded today, look at what it did. This is a small cap growth stock, and this one, had a green candle. It's not like it had a crazy day, up 1.58%, but this one was getting, some range to the upside. Same thing. This company, I also traded this one, EOLS. This is a growth company that's breaking out of the monthly value area. Same thing if we look at Airbnb. This one, I love this one because it's, you know, growth stock, but it's also has like that reopening tilt. And, you know, Airbnb had an awesome day as well. So I really think, you know, in terms of just flipping back to that, like even, you know, we have the IWN, which is, you know, the value stocks. So think about this. Do you think value investors are buying these value stocks up here? No, they are not. You know, the value investors are probably buying this thing like, you know, well in the past. Now it's become like, oh my gosh, value stocks are in. And, you know, in my opinion, like, look at the volume here. This was like, you know, climax, honestly, in terms of just crazy volume and like a blow off. And I just noticed a lot of these value names are really blowing off on the same day. Like if we look at this one, Trip. You know, Trip, really nice move today for anybody that was in it. But yeah, you know, at this point, just getting a little bit extended is all. Same thing like this one, GM that I was in. I had some calls. You know, same thing. We hit this R1 target level here, so I took these calls off. But yeah, this one also a nice breakout move. So it's just like, it kind of reminds me of like when everyone was going after the growth stocks, and it was like, oh my gosh, you have all these stocks like blowing off at once, and the pace just really picks up. And that's typically, in my experience, that's not like, you know, a lot of times when you want to be buying, unless you really are just like a pure momentum player and you're just gonna like scalp it, or, you know, you have your risk management down pat. You know, that's typically, you know, for me when I want to sell some. So yeah, definitely that was, you know, the main nuance that I was noticing today. Like if we look at IWM, these small caps, you know, these have had an awesome performance here. You can see IWM continuing to lift higher. And then the Dow Jones, look at this one. So the Dow Jones, yeah, look at it. This thing has had an incredible run. You know, this is awesome. I always make fun of the Dow Jones in these videos, you know, because it's always lagging behind. But at this point, you know, this is, you know, it's been a crazy move. I would think that most prudent players, they're thinking about an exit or, you know, taking some chips off. You know, the prudent, you know, A players, they're not like buying in here, I would think. So let's take a look. We'll check out our Finvis Heat Map. And let's see here. Okay, yeah, so the Finvis Heat Map. This was one thing I talked about, you know, earlier in the day. When we had our pre-market webinar, we're pretty much like, for the past couple weeks, it's been like growth stocks are in the gutter and the value stocks are going up. Now we're having like this nice give and take where there'll be a day where the value stocks do really well, then a day where the growth stocks, you know, it's their day, and vice versa. It's like one thing I was mentioning earlier is like the other day when all of these names that are currently red were like ripping to the upside. You know, if you were like, oh man, I missed my chance, like I couldn't buy any of them, like blah, 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 or like, you know, you just felt FOMO like you wanted to buy. You know, I said earlier in the day, like this is like your second shot at it. You know, with a lot of these, you know, yesterday I added to some of my value names while we were having this rip in growth. So today it's like, all right, we got a nice pop in the value names. You can see the banks were up. Aerospace and defense is up. Industrials, all the travel names, energy, really nice days. You know, so for me, I was like, okay, today I'm going to do the opposite where I'll trim some from value and add it to growth. And then if we look at our sectors, you know, we'll see a very similar dynamic here where we have the retail ETF that has GameStop in it, up 1.7%. That has taken our top slot in terms of sector momentum. We had energy, you know, just kind of cooling off a little bit, 0.21%. And then we had regional banks up 1.91%. So those, you know, are our leaders in terms of momentum. And then you can see a lot of these other areas, these more high growth areas, you know, they had a bit of a sell-off and really just took a breather. Like yesterday, a lot of these were up like 10%, 9%. And you can see today they gave some back. The solar energy down 1.49%. You can see the Chinese internet names down 3.61%. So yeah, just some give back in some of those areas that really crushed it yesterday. Let me take a quick look at the TAN ETF. This one's definitely looking a lot more interesting to me. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, when there's major volatility that comes into the market, one thing that you want to start seeing is, tighter ranges for some of these candles. You want to see the volume decreasing again. Just signs that we're sort of like out of that like crisis state in the market. And so like even for this TAN solar ETF, we had a pullback. We pulled back to this 5-day EMA, but you can see dip buyers, came in for this one. It closed down 1.49%, but there were still players, taking the opportunity here and allocating. And if we take a look here, if we look at our style factors, you can see we had the cyclicals up 1.4%, high beta up over 1% as well. And you can see some of our laggards. We had the momentum ETF down 0.91%. We had the growth ETF down 0.55%. Oh yeah, and then the other thing, before I jump into the trades real quick, this was something that I brought up in the pre-market webinar as well. So where is this? Okay, where is it here? Okay, it was this one. So this, I saw this in the morning, and it was another thing that really just solidified, just my line of thought today. So you can see speculative options activity has turned very pessimistic. Q's put activity is among the highest in years, even higher than March of 2020. Tech bounced sharply this week, but traders kept buying puts. At this pace, traders are still a long way from embracing any rally. So if you look here, you can see that, the put buying in the Qs has been very extreme. So everyone's very pessimistic on the Qs. So it's one thing when like everyone's like partying hard and these growth stocks are ripping and they're just getting to these like crazy elevated levels. At this point, we don't have that complacency in the growth stocks. Those names got hammered for weeks and now people are positioned with puts. So this is, it kind of reminds me, very similar to like the coronavirus crash, where it was like the market crashed last March and then it got to a point where it was like, why is the market continuing to go up? Why is it not going down? Like, we're in a pandemic. We keep getting all these negative headlines and like all this stuff. Like, what the heck is going on? And the reason why was just because everyone had already positioned in puts and everybody was, either a little bit lighter on their stock allocations or even net short. So yeah, when that happens, you don't really get those like, those violent sell-offs and like the crazy moves anymore because everyone is pre-hedged. So that's another thing really why I was like, okay, I see some opportunity here now. All right, so let's jump into some of these trades. I'm actually going to go for a walk with my girlfriend after this. We're going to go get some drinks because the weather is actually super nice out today. Let me see. Okay. Yes, let's pull up some of the trades for today. See, I entered my Q's 314 strike June calls for $17.80. Those are already a slight winner, which is pretty cool. It's always good when the trade is already winning on day one. And then GRWG. So I noticed like the other day, I was like, these cannabis names, they're kind of weak. Today I'm seeing like, okay, these cannabis names, there's actually some life in them. And that's another thing is I look at all these high growth sectors, like this is what's happening. They're starting to curl higher. We're seeing green candles here. We're clearing moving averages. So this, I think there's a lot of players that they're still like, oh my gosh, value, the growth is dead. But in my opinion, when you're allocating here, this is where you can actually make, a good chunk of cash. When these names aren't really breaking out yet, they're still kind of like calm, but you can see that the dust is settling and they're starting to turn higher. That's when I love to allocate. And And then you get the people that chase it, as MSOS goes to like 60, and then that's when you sell into them. But yeah, MSOS, having some life. So I took some calls in GRWG. It's one of my go-to cannabis names. And you can see that this one is pushing into this monthly value area here. So yeah, looking really good. There's actually some other names as well, names that I do own just long-term, like this one, GTBIF. Now, I've been long this one since maybe it was like $12 a share. But yeah, GTBIF, closed on the highs today. This one looks awesome. Same thing with TCCNF. All right, does it still have this ticker? Let me see, True Leave. Yeah, right here. Yeah, so True Leave is looking good also. So yeah, some of these names, that's what I mean. I'm just starting to see way too many of these where like I'm like, oh my gosh, here it comes. Same thing like Apps, Digital Turbine. This right now is my biggest position. This one, the growth stocks were crumbling in the morning. This one had a full recovery and closed positive on the day. So yeah, this was just like, I'm seeing too much of this. I keep repeating myself over and over, but I really think, today was definitely a day to add to some of these names. We'll see. So JPM, as I said earlier, I was trying to rotate out of some of this value. So I closed, you can see here, I closed half of the position for $6. I had paid $5.75. Closed the second half for $5.55. So overall, that was like a 5-cent winner, pretty much a scratch. Peloton, I had an iron butterfly in Peloton. I closed the first half for a $1.61 gain. So pretty good. That one I was risking $1.88. I made $1.61. And then the second half I closed out for negative 0.17. So on a net basis, that trade was a nice winner. GoodRx. This was probably like my worst trade of the past, several weeks, I would say. GoodRx closed these out for $1.80. I had paid $4.30 for these. And the reason why this was my worst trade, and I think it's important to go through this, because like for me, I'm always trying to get better. And really a lot of trading is, improving your win rate. If you can start to strip out some of your worst trades from your trading performance, it will make a world of difference. So like this one, it's just important to go through. So GoodRx, when I opened this trade, this was my opening statement here. So I said this name is reporting earnings March 11th, looking for a run into the print. Yesterday we did get a run into the print, but I never closed these calls out. And then this company ended up just like whiffing on the report. So where is it? GDRX. So yeah, GDRX ended up whiffing on their report. And you can see, if I had exited yesterday, I think I could have closed out for maybe like $4.10. But today, I ended up taking a much bigger hit. So that one is definitely like a learning lesson for me, where it's like, okay, if you're playing for a run into earnings, make sure that you do not hold through the earnings event. Only hold if it's specifically an earnings trade. And even the earnings trades, like, I don't really find there's much edge in those. So depending on the case, like, I definitely just want to be more selective with earnings, because a lot of these companies, they really got hammered for earnings season. So yeah, that was the no-no for today. Then I had my Tesla call spread. This one was my best trade for the week. So this one, I had a 620 by 630 call spread. It was a weekly spread. It expired today at $10 a share. This one I had paid $4.49. So that one was a nice max winner. Nice trade location on that one. And what is Tesla doing? And that's the thing with trading, where like sometimes less is more, because in my experience, I noticed that there will be a lot of trades where they're just like, okay, I scratched this one, I made a buck here, lost a buck there. But then you're going to have like a minority of your trades where you make the most of your money. So like I had a couple of months ago, like some cannabis calls that literally like almost 10x. And that's like, oh my gosh, that really can make your month, make your year, all that good stuff. So really what it's all about is like keeping your losers as small as possible and as tight as possible. And just being selective. Like this Tesla trade, this one really made my week just because this one was, over a 100% winner. But Tesla, yeah, you can see here. So I put this one on, during this breakout candle right here towards like the bottom of it. And yeah, Tesla even, this is another, signal for these growth stocks. Tesla put in a nice green candle here. So yeah, looking pretty good. And then what else do we have? GM. So I had these calls. Bought these about 2 days ago for $6.05. Closed these out for $7.75. So that was a nice one as well. This one was like a nice, like instant gratification. I love when this happens. When it's like I positioned in this one on this candle right here, waited 1 day, and then we got the breakout. And really the reason I took this one off, like, so it hit my target level that I went into the trade, with that expectation. Like I set an alert here and I said, okay, this is my target, or at least my initial target. I hit it so fast that I was like, this name, it still looks pretty good, but I do want to fade some of these value stocks anyway. So I took this one off, just put the money in my pocket. The other thing too, like if you look, so some of these stocks, GM, maybe this one just keeps running. But when you look at the weekly chart too, we hit up against that weekly, upper Bollinger Band. So honestly, a lot of times it ends up being a question of like, how greedy do you want to be? This name, if you look at where it's trading like pre-coronavirus, trading well beyond those highs, we'll see. This is one that I'll definitely watch, and if we get some sort of dip, maybe I re-enter it. And then we have here, I did some stock trading as well. This one, so yeah, Viot. This one I had a stop order on the books. I took a stop on this one in the morning for 11.90, and then I actually jumped back into it later for 13.05. So this is another thing, like another nuance for trading is, and these are the things a lot of people don't really tell you, but when you're trading, you are going to get stopped out of some positions. And what can happen is you go, okay, I got stopped out. I'm not going to jump in higher. Like I'm no fool. Like I'm not going to pay more than I did the last time. But then a lot of times you can end up in a situation where like that stock ends up really running to the upside. So Viot was one where, it did a shakeout in the morning, it hit my stop and took me out. But this one also looked pretty positive today. So I was like, what, I'm going to add the position back. And as of right now, it's a small winner for me. Another one that I traded here, I got long some CWH. This is one that I really like the CEO. They pay a dividend. It's more of like a slower mover than some of the other names that I trade. But this one, it's looking pretty good. Camping World. So I entered this one with some common shares. Had the breakout yesterday. And now you can see we're sort of consolidating here above this monthly value area. But for something like Camping World, when I look at this, we're here. Yeah, so Camping World is not quite as extended. Like this one is really just breaking out here. So this one I'm going to give it a shot. And this is one where, it'll pay out a dividend. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Camping World. So let's see. We have Camping World. And then the other trade I did. Oh yeah, so I set an order to add more apps. So apps, I added a position at 73.50. Then I doubled my position at 84.68. And I'm going to enter one more piece if it hits 90.48 and breaks out here. And this one, I've just been building this position over time. And this one, it looks like it could break out. So I'll have to see what happens here. And then another name that I traded was this name, EOLS. This is another growth name. Look at this one and how it's breaking out, really nicely here. Yeah, so this one, I think if we do get, what I'm thinking could happen next week where, the growth names actually do pretty well, this one is a very fast mover. It's a very volatile name. So I would imagine, this one we could see a move to the upside. That about does it for my trades for today. Let's take a quick look. There wasn't that much options order flow. Oh, yeah, and then the last one that I did, this one I think is going to be a cool trade. Sometimes when you put a trade on, you're like, I don't know. And then other times you're like, oh, this one just feels right. So Airbnb, I got long this March 26th weekly 210 by 215 call spread for $1.88. Airbnb, this one just looks like it's ready to fly. Look at it. So who knows? Like maybe it doesn't, but yeah, this one closed right above that monthly value area high. And this one was kind of pushing into the close. So I really want to see, again, if the Qs are strong next week, or really just even in the coming weeks, this one definitely looks like it's forming a nice base here, and we could get that pop out of the base. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm in a call spread that expires in about 2 weeks. All right. Let's take a quick look here. Dun dun dun. Oh my gosh, yeah. Snapchat. We had some calls coming for Snapchat. This one had a pretty good close. So if you look here. Snap. I'll definitely be watching this one next week. Yeah, look at this one. Really nice. So again, like, I just keep saying it over and over again. This is like my theme of this video, but yeah, the growth names, like if you think these things are about to crash, like, I don't know. Seems like something else is about to happen here. But yeah, the Snap looked really good. Twitter is one that I have on the books. Twitter I don't think was quite as strong. Yeah, this one up 0.53%. Or down 0.53%, excuse me. But this one is really just consolidating. So Twitter is another one that I would like to potentially add to. We had some GameStop call buyers with a 350 strike. This Airbnb order, they went for the June 210 strikes. And yeah, not really all that much call activity today. We had, some put buyers in the morning. They were kind of fading some of these mega cap names. Yeah, nothing really too exciting on the options front. Oh yeah, and then Lyft. Lyft is the last one here. Lyft had a really nice day as well. Really nice here. So yeah, this one, this is definitely going to be one that I will be watching in the near future. If we get some sort of dip or consolidation here. Yeah, this one, it's in a nice strong trend. With that being said, hope you all have a great weekend. Hope you all had a great trading week. And I will see you all on Monday.